Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and today we're going to talk about the trans experience and how it's really the human experience. I say this because it's kind of an important thing to call out, and I think y'all trans folks might agree with this, but the trans experience is really just a human experience. But people who are not trans don't really understand that it's really just about the human experience. I make these topics about all these different personal development things on my channel, and it's all about the inner work. But it's not just really for trans people. You could easily translate self-acceptance, self-love, going through personal change, going through big transitions as like human personal growth. It's not about just being trans. Yes, there's specific things that you may have to deal with, like body dysphoria, or like the experience of what it's like to cross-dress and then move into your gender, or like being stigmatized, being stereotyped, being rejected based on being trans. You know, those are experiences that are very real. But finding yourself, finding love for yourself, being accepting to yourself, helping other people, accepting other people, learning how to express who you are, finding what you're truly passionate about, all these things, they're just a part of the human experience, aren't they? Yet, when we talk a lot about trans-related topics, it can feel sort of like us versus them, or they don't get it and we do, or the other way around, really. And I feel like that division leaves out a lot that cis people in the world could benefit from in our trans experience. Like if we can take our experience and help other people who have nothing to do with being trans understand something that could be really helpful for them. Like how can we abstract away the trans experience into something that's digestible for cis people so that they can understand the world better? You know, my favorite thing, I don't know what your favorite thing is, but my favorite thing about being trans and related to this is that we are markers of being authentic, of being so committed to oneself that you take on the challenge, you take on the stigma, you take on all of the rough edges of life. You put life on hard mode, really. And if it's easy, you're lucky. But would you say it's pretty hard? To put life on hard mode, to be who you know you are. That's a fantastic story. And then to go through this letting go of yourself, letting go of who you thought you were, and to change completely inwardly and outwardly in how you express and how you move and how you look and all these other things. That is such a powerful transformation. Can't we isolate something in that experience that we can give to cis people? Transformation happens. Transformation is a part of the human experience. When someone important that's loved dies, that brings a huge void into life. When you're going through a big career shift, that's a huge change. When you're changing cities, that's a huge change. All of these are like transitions. They're like from one point to the other, and there's this big movement, right? What can we learn? What can we share? What is it about the transition that can just be universal? I tried to kind of approach this with my TED Talk in 2019. I put it like this, and I'll link that, but I put it like this. Basically, our perception of ourselves is that we're holding on to ourselves, that we have, this is kind of like the ego, right? We have this idea, let's say this is the idea of who we think we are, we hold on to that, and that becomes the thing that we hold on to. And that's fine when everything's dandy, but once we call into question what the thing is inside here, and it starts to leave, we start to hold on even tighter. And that's where we get stubborn. That's where we get defensive. No, like, I'm like this. I'm not like whatever you're saying that I am. Right? Like, have you ever gotten into a fight like that? That thing that relationship that we have with our ego, that relationship that we have with the rest of the world and the production of the image that we want to create and all of the friction that we have, and perhaps our world changing because if we've done something wrong that they perceive that we've done something wrong, then we must be wrong, and then we must perceive ourselves as wrong, and that kind of like doesn't fit with our mental model of who we think we are. And that creates defensiveness because you don't want to take the blame, because you don't want to admit to yourself that you could be blamed because you're infallible. Those kinds of thinking patterns. When you're transitioning, you have to freaking throw that out the window. You have to throw out the window that you thought you were right the whole time, because then you just realized you were wrong about something really big. Right? Have you been there? Has something like that happened for you? Did I just say... I hope you got what I said. Those things where we have to let go and say, you know what? Maybe I wasn't right. Maybe I do have to let go of myself as infallible. Maybe I do have to let go of myself as being perfect. Those moments where you start from scratch and you say, okay, I'm just going to let that go, and I'm going to let myself go, and maybe I'll be a different person going through this process. That is probably the most powerful thing that I could share with anyone, is the mastery of being willing to let go of yourself, of who you think you are, and replace it and build something new. I'm not saying that the ego should disappear. I'm saying we need to be able to learn how to work with the ego in a way where we can be flexible. Because your ego does protect you. Like, where it has this sense of you, the sense of I that has had to protect you, where's that come into play in a positive way? You know, like, I want to be the woman that I want to be so much that I've committed to myself in this way of putting my money where my mouth is, traveling, like making all of the things happen for myself. That's an ego. That's a sense of an I. But it makes me happier, and it doesn't hurt people. And it doesn't even create any expense for me in terms of creating negativity in the world. You know, in fact, it's a positive thing because I can share my message. I can then talk about this with you. But yeah, I think the ego can be a funny thing to kind of dive into. Probably needs its own series, to be honest. Where do you feel stuck with your ego? Where do you feel like you get in these battles with yourself that where you it feels like you just can't win, or you get stuck? Where are places where you feel like very able and very like liquidy and loose and able to kind of work with your ego? And is there ways that you can kind of bring that practice into the other one where you're a little bit tighter? What's going on there? Where is it that you get triggered? I think that's kind of the harder one. Do you ever get triggered? The thing where like someone may say something and then you just go, and then you start reacting in a way where you're being defensive, or you're just acting in a way that just isn't the normal you. I think you can kind of see the point that this is not just being trans, like this is a human experience too. I think people just don't really understand that. Thanks for joining me today on another episode of Tea Time. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and say hi if you haven't said hi yet. I'd love to see you. So I'll see you next episode. Bye.